Out of all the Halloween movies in this famous horror franchise, for me, Halloween 2, released in 1981, remains for me the best of the series. Its darkness very clear, its brutality in the kills unmatched, its connect to the 1978 classic very clear and cut. It reveals and twists are legendary. Michael Myers is evil personified, as Dr. Loomis called him. He's not a man, he's something else. That something else is what glued moviegoers to their seats all those years ago. Yeah, I've given this movie praise, time and time again in this channel and others, yet I've not delved deeper into what I think makes this movie a classic and a keeper. Here are the things that I believe make this movie the best in the franchise. Halloween 2 happens on the same night as the first film. It continues where the 1978 classic left off. Dr. Loomis pounds 6 shots into Michael Myers. He falls off the balcony. Then he disappears. Dr. Loomis alerts a neighbor to contact the sheriff. You hear his voice in the trailer, his hysteria.
I shot him 6 times. I shot him in the heart. The man, he's not human.
We see Annie's remains being removed from the house. Her father in shock that his little girl is gone. We see Laurie being taken to the hospital to be treated for her injuries. There is nothing here that breaks the timeline. Michael is walking amidst the homes of Haddonfield. He comes across a house where he just simply takes the knife sitting on the kitchen cabinet, then proceeds to kill the girl next door. Halloween 2 gives off the same vibes as the first one, especially in the beginning. As the movie progresses, it takes on an even darker tone. Yeah, Michael's not human. He's become something else. As in every horror slasher film, tone is important. There has to be a sense of impending dread. The film does not disappoint. It gives off a dark, eerie tone that not only follows up to the 1978 film, but gets even darker. Michael Myers' elusiveness from the authorities, his eventual arrival at the hospital to continue to stalk Laurie. He makes his way in to finish what he started earlier that night. You could feel the thickness in the air. Dr. Loomis continues his monologues regarding who Michael is, what he is. The music sets the tone for any movie. We first heard that eerie piano hook in the first Halloween. Then we hear it again in Halloween 2. It was different though. It was more punchy, in your face, even more eerie. John Carpenter, with his musical associate Alan Howarth, composed and compiled an excellent collection of instrumentation that would help this movie be as scary as it could be for its time. The mystery of the shape, the darkness of the kills as they took place. Even when Laurie is wandering in the hospital hallways with Michael also searching for her, you hear the sense of dread and suspense that accompanies both of them in music format. One to escape, the other to pursue. Music has always been the nonverbal screenplay to a story that would assist in the unveiling of the plot in front of us. We have even used it to escape into our own little worlds for a while. It's one of the best horror soundtracks to date. John Carpenter and Alan Howarth have moved on to actually collaborate again in future films. Their musical partnership is legendary, and it all started with Halloween 2. One of the things that made 1978's Halloween such an iconic film was its sense of mystery, even when it came to the kills. We don't see much blood in this film, barely any at all. That's what added to how amazing Halloween was. One didn't need to see blood and gore to be horrified by the kills as they happened. The imagination would play that role in us, and we have never been the same since. The early 80s were met with a new vision of what it would be like to see horror with blood and gore. Friday the 13th stepped over the boundary and showed us up front the horror of the kills. And Halloween 2, though not as gory as its competition, still took it to another level. The sounds, the blood, the methods by which the Shape executed his kills, from hot water to injections to literally draining someone of blood completely. Let's not forget the hammer. Halloween in 1978 showed us what the Shape was doing and would potentially do if he kept going. Halloween 2 showed us exactly what he was capable of doing to the extreme. It terrified the audience. It gave us more resolve to support Laurie Strode and Dr. Loomis as they confronted Michael Myers in the iconic end scene. John Carpenter didn't want to have anything to do with Halloween 2, but he and Deborah Hill nonetheless wrote the story to it. John Carpenter did the music to it, and he actually directed some of the more extreme kills in it. Rick Rosenthal was the director of the film, but not without Carpenter's hand and influence on the final production of the movie. At this point, everyone knew who John Carpenter was. 1978's Halloween put him on the map, making him one of the most famous horror directors of all time. He made early to mid-80s horror not only scary, but fun to go to the movies to see. His connection to Halloween 2 cannot be overlooked. It would be John Carpenter's last association with Michael Myers until the revamped sequel trilogy starting in 2018. This has to be the biggest reason why Halloween 2 is the best in the franchise. This was the movie where it was revealed for the first time that Laurie was Michael's sister. That plot twist not only stuck, but it became the foundation for most of the Halloween films. I say most. We need to remember that this was not part of John Carpenter's initial vision when he and Deborah Hill wrote the original Halloween. It was preferred that the Shape killed just to kill. No reason, no motive, no nothing. It added to the mystery of the Shape, the darkness of who he was. By making Laurie his sister, Michael Myers all of a sudden had a point, an endgame, a purpose to his madness. It shed light on the darkness we couldn't understand. In a weird way, it almost made him a little bit relatable to us as people. Yeah, he's a serial killer. Yeah, he's a maniac. But now there was something else that was feeding it. Something tangible, something explainable. Michael had another sister, and he came home to finish the slaughter he started when he was 6, ready to kill anyone who stood in his way. 1981's Halloween 2 did that. No other movie. I originally thought the mask used in Halloween 2 was a new mask, different from the one in the first film. I was wrong. Wear and tear from both Nick Castle, the original Michael Myers actor, and Deborah Hill wore down the color and texture of the already modified Captain Kirk mask from a few years before. By the time Dick Warlock, the Michael Myers of Halloween 2, got to it, it was worn quite a bit, not to mention Warlock's head was wider, so it made the mask's shape a little bit different in the camera. Yes, it was still creepy, it still worked. One interesting thing in Halloween 2 that I noticed, in many shots you could see Michael's eyes through the mask. That wasn't the case in the original film. Yet it remained creepy, menacing, and profoundly mysterious. The mystery of the Shape and why he does what he does was not only maintained in Halloween 2, but leveled up to a different playing field. His kills were more intense, more brutal, his strength more apparent. His inability to just die made that more clear. All of this was first shown to us in this movie. It set up the basis for future Halloween films, where we see a Myers just completely evil, completely insane, and completely hell-bent on getting his kills in with a ferocity and intensity that was coming up against other horror icons. Sure, Jason may have been more out there with his kills. Well, there you have it, folks. My reasons why Halloween 2, in my opinion, is the best of the franchise, and why I give it 5 coffee cups. The best, one of the best, one of the classics. Thank you for watching.
I've been trick-or-treated to death tonight. You don't know what death is.